You know, when someone walks into a situation thinking they're untouchable, like they've got the cheat code for life, only to get absolutely steamrolled by reality, that's exactly what happened when Marcus Thompson tried to pull the boldest courtroom stunt Judge Frank Caprio had ever seen. Picture this, you're sitting in
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
Caprio's famously patient and heartfelt courtroom where parking fines usually end with a smile and maybe a waived fee if you've got a good story. But this day, oh, this day was different. In walks Marcus Thompson, late 20s, cocky swagger, sharp suit, and an expression that screamed, "I know something you don't." He wasn't here for a parking ticket. He was here because he assaulted an 82-year-old Korean War veteran in a bar and thought he could walk away clean. The victim, Thomas Chen, a man who's lived through real conflict, real sacrifice, and who came home from war just to get shoved to the floor by some overgrown frat boy on a power trip. Security footage caught the whole thing. Thomas was just sitting at the bar nursing a drink when Marcus, clearly intoxicated and clearly spoiling for a fight, stormed over, said something unintelligible, and shoved him hard from behind. No warning, no provocation, just full-body arrogance disguised as bravado. Thomas fell to the floor, a broken wrist, a concussion. Witnesses rushed to help while Marcus stood over him like he was the injured party. When police arrived, things went from bad to completely unhinged. Because that's when Marcus pulled out the badge. Not his badge, his father's. A real FBI badge, flashed with the casual entitlement of someone who's used to getting away with things. "This is a federal matter," he reportedly told the officers. "I have immunity." Immunity because his dad works for the Bureau. Officers didn't buy it, obviously. They arrested him, booked him, and scheduled his court date. But Marcus, he walked into that courtroom like he still believed he was bulletproof. Judge Caprio gave him every opportunity to own up, to take responsibility, to apologize, but Marcus had other ideas. He doubled down. "My father is a federal agent. You have no jurisdiction here," he said, staring the judge in the eye like he was reading lines off a Law and Order script. You could almost hear the collective gasp. And then he did it, in the middle of court, right in front of a sitting judge. Marcus pulled the badge again. Held it up like a trophy, like it was supposed to shut everything down. End of discussion. Court.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
Adjourned. Except that's not how Judge Caprio works. No shouting, no theatrics. He simply raised an eyebrow, picked up the courtroom phone, and said, "Let's call your father's supervisor and clarify that." Silence. Marcus blinked, stuttered, tried to pivot. "That won't be necessary," he mumbled. But it was necessary, and it happened. 30 minutes later, 2 FBI agents entered the courtroom, not to back Marcus up, not to defend his actions, but to arrest him, on the spot, in front of the entire courtroom. Impersonating a federal officer, unauthorized possession of federal credentials, attempting to interfere with judicial proceedings, the charges piled up fast and hard. But the fallout didn't stop there. You see, Marcus didn't steal that badge. He was given it multiple times by his father, Special Agent Robert Thompson, and when the Bureau started digging, they found a pattern. Marcus had been using his dad's badge for years, flashing it in bars, traffic stops, trying to skip lines, get out of trouble, or just flex on people who didn't know better. And his dad, he knew, he looked the other way. That's not parenting, that's negligence with a federal price tag. So the FBI terminated Robert Thompson, after 22 years of service, a decorated agent gone in a flash because he let his son treat a badge like a toy. The message, crystal clear: the Bureau does not play favorites, not even for its own. Meanwhile, Marcus was left to face the music. He pled guilty, served prison time, watched as the internet shredded him into a meme. When your dad's job doesn't get you out of jail. But here's the twist that no one expected. After prison, Marcus kept his head down. No media appearances, no sob story, just silence. Eventually, he showed up at a local veterans outreach center, not to redeem himself publicly, just to work, quietly, anonymously, folding chairs, brewing coffee, cleaning bathrooms. At first, no one wanted him there, some recognized him, a few left, others gave him cold stares, and he didn't fight it. He showed up every day anyway. He didn't lead with apologies, he didn't explain, he just worked. And then one day, Thomas Chen walked through the doors. It was the first time the two men had seen each other since the assault. You could feel the air freeze. Marcus stood up, walked over slowly. "I'm sorry," he said. "I was wrong, I don't expect forgiveness, but I needed to say it." Thomas didn't respond at first, just looked at him, this man who had once thrown him to the floor now quietly stacking chairs. And after a long moment, Thomas said something simple. "People think a badge makes you a man, it doesn't, what you do after you lose it does." That moment, that was bigger than any courtroom, bigger than any sentence. Because it wasn't about forgiveness, it was about accountability. Marcus didn't erase what he did, but he chose not to run from it. He stayed, he worked, he learned, and over time, the same community that once wanted nothing to
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
do with him began to see someone who was trying. Not performing, not deflecting, trying. And that's rare, especially in a world where so many people fake humility to protect their image. Marcus lost everything and still chose to rebuild. So yeah, this story had the theatrics, the courtroom twist, the FBI sting, the fall from grace. But it also had something more important, a real messy, earned second chance. Let us know what you think. Was justice served? Did Marcus redeem himself, or is one good deed not enough to undo what he did? We want to hear your thoughts. Light up the comments. And if you're here for more real-life drama that proves truth really is stranger than fiction, like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who thinks privilege means protection. Because no matter who your father is, when you walk into a courtroom, the judge always has jurisdiction. We already saw Marcus Thompson's crash and burn moment in Judge Caprio's courtroom. And really, can we talk about how cinematic that was? The man straight up said, "You have no jurisdiction," to the judge's face, a local judge, while standing in a local courtroom, in front of actual law enforcement and a gallery full of people who instantly knew this was about to go down in legal history as a textbook case of "don't try this ever under any circumstance." Marcus genuinely believed the court couldn't touch him because he had access to his father's FBI badge. That badge became his armor, his shield. His excuse, it was the thing he thought made him special, above the law, above accountability, and apparently above common sense. But the wildest part, he believed it. That's the scariest kind of arrogance, the kind that doesn't just fake it for show but internalizes the delusion so deeply that the person actually thinks they're right. That's where Marcus was, not just pretending to be protected, expecting to be. And here's the thing, people don't get there on their own. Let's talk about his dad for a second. Special Agent Robert Thompson, decorated, respected, long-term bureau man, spent over 2 decades serving under the radar, building a reputation. But somewhere along the line something broke or maybe bent. Maybe it started as just helping my kid out. A little badge flashing here, a subtle "my dad's FBI" drop there, nothing huge until it was. Because that badge didn't end up in Marcus's hands by accident, it wasn't stolen, it was given, multiple times, and not for any official purpose, not for protection, for privilege. And once the Bureau got wind of it, they didn't hesitate. 22 years of service gone in a flash, not because Robert committed some heinous crime himself, but because he violated trust. He compromised the integrity of a position that cannot afford gray areas. The FBI doesn't do family passes, they don't offer second chances when someone misuses the seal. And that's what makes the fall so tragic and so justified. Because in that courtroom, Caprio didn't just see a kid making bad decisions, he saw the larger picture. A legacy of entitlement, a chain of enablers, a system that in some families teaches power is meant to be exploited, not earned. So when Caprio calmly picked up the phone and said, "Let's get the Bureau on the line," he wasn't just calling Marcus's bluff, he was breaking the chain. No yelling, no drama, just an unshakable belief in the law doing what it's supposed to do even when the defendant thinks it won't. And let's talk about the audacity it takes to stand in front of a judge like Frank Caprio, a man who's been on the bench for decades, who's given out more grades.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
Grace and understanding than most courts combined, and try to outrank him with your dad's credentials. Marcus didn't just insult the court, he insulted every person who ever stood before it and told the truth, every person who owned their mistakes. He tried to bypass accountability with a shiny piece of metal and a last name, and Caprio, he saw straight through it. That's what makes this story hit harder than most, because it's not just about the crime, it's about the mindset that led to it. Marcus didn't act out of desperation, he acted out of certainty, the certainty that the system would protect him, that his father's position would catch him like a safety net. He never imagined that very safety net would be the thing that snapped. And when the FBI agents walked in that courtroom and arrested him in front of Judge Caprio, the public, the lawyers, and the victim, it was the universe finally pulling the emergency brake on a runaway ego. But let's pivot to the man at the heart of the original crime, Thomas Chen. Because here, where things get poetic. Thomas didn't sue, he didn't show up with a legal team ready to destroy Marcus. He didn't even speak during the court proceedings, aside from a quiet statement confirming the facts. The man was shoved, injured, and humiliated by a kid who thought federal connections meant immunity, and still, Thomas Chen didn't posture, didn't retaliate. He just stood there, dignity intact, no badge, no special title, just quiet, earned respect. In that contrast, it says everything. One man used power as a weapon, the other showed power without needing to use it at all. Which brings us to the post-courtroom chapter. After serving time, Marcus didn't vanish. He didn't hop on a podcast tour or release a teary "I've changed" apology video, he just showed up at a local veterans outreach center, no cameras, no statement. He asked if he could help. It took weeks before anyone even let him mop the floors. Word had spread. Some of the veterans refused to look him in the eye, some said they'd leave if he stayed, but Marcus didn't defend himself. He didn't pull the "I've done my time" card, he just kept coming back. He wiped down tables, took out trash, folded flags, picked up cigarette butts in the parking lot without complaint. And eventually, they started to believe maybe he meant it. Then came the real test, the day Thomas Chen walked in. Marcus saw him from across the room, froze, people noticed, you could feel the temperature shift, everyone waited to see if Thomas would call him out, tell him to leave, demand justice even belatedly. But Thomas just walked up, looked him in the eye. And Marcus, he didn't say much, just, "I was wrong, I hurt you, and I'm sorry." No performance, no excuses, just the truth. Thomas didn't hug him, didn't forgive him on the spot, he just nodded and said, "Then keep working." That might be the most powerful sentence in this entire story. Then keep working. Not "you're off the hook," not "we're good now," just a reminder that redemption doesn't come from a single apology, it's a process. A choice made again and again quietly when no one's watching. And Marcus, he kept working. He still does. To this day, people who knew him before barely recognize him now. The flash is gone. The name dropping, dead. What's left is a man who had to lose everything, including his father's job, his freedom, and his pride, to find out who he actually was. So what do we take from all of this? That power borrowed is power wasted. That pretending to be above the law only guarantees you'll hit the ground harder when it runs out. That the only real badge that matters is the one you earn, not the one you inherit. Marcus Thompson thought he could bluff the system. What he got was a masterclass in accountability served cold with a side of poetic justice. And Judge Caprio, he didn't need to yell, he didn't need to humiliate him. He just picked up the phone, made a call, and let the truth walk through the courtroom doors in a dark FBI windbreaker. Oh, you're still with me? Perfect, because this saga isn't just some courtroom one-hit wonder. It's the kind of story that stays with you. Not just because of the drama, the fall, or that moment Marcus Thompson pulled out a federal badge like he was playing a round of Monopoly and slapped down a get-out-of-jail-free card. No, it lingers because it says something deeper, something uncomfortable. This whole case, it's not just about what Marcus did, it's about what he thought he could get away with, and why. Because let's be honest, this wasn't some fluke decision, this wasn't a moment of panic where he reached for the badge in desperation. That thing had been in his coat pocket. Prepped, ready, he walked in thinking it would work. Which means someone, somewhere along the way, taught him that rules didn't apply if you.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
Had the right name or knew the right people. That's what makes this more than just a scandal. It's a reflection of a mindset that a lot of people are raised into, quietly or not so quietly, that status equals immunity, that justice is for other people. And sure, maybe not everyone is out here impersonating federal officers, but come on, we've all seen the type. The name droppers, the credential flashers, the ones who say, "Do you know who I am?" before they even ask your name. Marcus didn't invent that, he just took it to its most delusional conclusion. But here's what's fascinating and honestly kind of satisfying: the system worked. Judge Caprio didn't blink, didn't flinch, he saw right through it. He didn't go full TV judge yelling order in the court and slamming the gavel. Nope. He picked up the phone, calm, measured, surgical. One call, one quiet request to the FBI field office, and that's all it took. Within the hour, Marcus went from smug courtroom poser to stunned criminal defendant being escorted out in cuffs, not by the bailiff, by federal agents. You could feel the air shift when they walked in, like the universe hit the play stupid games, win stupid prizes button in real time. And for the record, watching a man who thought he was above the law get corrected by the actual law in front of a judge, in front of the public, in front of the very badge he misused, is about as close to poetic justice as you can get without hearing Shakespeare to write the arrest warrant. But the beauty of this story isn't just in the takedown, it's in what came after. Because Marcus served his time, quietly, there was no press tour, no attempt to flip the narrative, no teary tick-tock confession, just silence. And when he got out, he didn't try to reclaim the spotlight, he showed up unannounced at a veterans center. And you know what's wild? He didn't ask for forgiveness, he didn't demand a second chance, he didn't walk in wearing a t-shirt that said REDEMED, he just grabbed a broom. That's it, that's how redemption starts. Not with a statement, with sweeping floors. And sure, people side-eyed him at first, some veterans refused to even look at him, others whispered behind his back, but Marcus didn't fight it, he didn't argue. He earned it slowly, day by day. And then came the test. Thomas Chen. The man he shoved, the man he humiliated, the man who could have buried him under lawsuits or press coverage or anger, walked into the center. You could hear a pin drop. Everyone turned to look, Marcus froze. This was the moment, the one he couldn't plan, the one with no script, no badge, just him, and the man whose life he'd nearly wrecked. Marcus walked over. No performance, no dramatic speech, just, "I'm sorry I hurt you, I was wrong." And Thomas, he didn't forgive him with a hug, he didn't nod and say, "We're good." He said something way more powerful. "Keep showing up." That's what real accountability sounds like, not clean, not easy, but real. And Marcus, he's still showing up. Not because anyone's watching, not because he wants the world to clap, but because, maybe for the first time in his life, he understands what earning respect really looks like. It's not in the badge, it's not in your father's title, it's not in the courtroom speech. It's in the quiet moments when no one's looking and you do the right thing anyway. So if this story hit you the way it hit us, tell us what you think. Did Marcus deserve a shot at redemption? Was Judge Caprio's response the ultimate lesson in humility? Would you have forgiven him if you were Thomas Chen? Drop your thoughts in the comments, don't hold back. And if you live for stories like this where karma doesn't just come around, it shows up in a federal issue jacket and says, "You have the right to remain silent," then hit that like button. Send this to your favorite rules don't apply to me friend, and subscribe for more courtroom chaos, celebrity meltdowns, and real-life drama that's somehow wilder than fiction. Because in the end, respect isn't something you inherit, it's something you earn. One day, one broom, one apology at a time.